Bird talk shit? Like,
What?
like we talk or
Let me
like...
tell y'all something. Bird used to tell me, look here, man. I'm gonna go shoot this motherfucking jumper in your face right there in that corner. And it's gonna be your Christmas present. I'm gonna wrap it up and bust your head open. All that shit. He was the coldest dude I ever seen with that shit, man. Everybody be talking about these greats. They don't be always mentioning him. He was the shit.
Yeah.
The shit, man. He'll give it to you any way he wanted to. Any way he wanted to. Larry Bird was cold.
So we playing him in the last play. He says to James Worthy, he says, you guys don't have to worry about it. I'm gonna go right over that corner. He said, they're gonna set a screen for me. We're taking the ball out. He said, I'm gonna curl right over. And he's telling us to play. He's telling us to play before they even take it out. He said, I'm gonna go right over to that corner and I'm gonna catch it, and I'm gonna shoot it, and I'm gonna tie the game or win the game, whatever the case may be.
Do you remember? Well, you had the Bird night.
I had the Bird night. Yeah, that was a tough night, man. The biggest argument that night is, well, you only scored 6 on me.
But nobody was guarding Bird, were they?
Well, we were trying.
You were trying to.
No, but when a guy is literally coming up the court, calling his shots, and Bird talked a lot of trash.
And that's in New Orleans.
That's in New Orleans. In that game, we're on the free throw line, and he literally says, left side over across the 3, and you're listening to him. That's a tough feeling.
I remember we were playing Washington in Washington one night, and Larry just hit what would have been the game-winning shot, but KC called timeout.
It won't count. It does not count. Boston had called a timeout.
Larry came back to the bench, and he was a little upset.
He looks at the bench and says, hey guys, when I come back after timeout, I'm going to go right to the same spot, and I'm going to kick it in.
He told Washington, I'm going to get the ball.
2 seconds left. The Bullets by 1. Aims to Bird. He gets a good shot in the Celtics winner. Boy, this is something else. Incredible. And Bird wins it at the buzzer.
Not really known for being the best passer, dunker, or sprinter in the league, Larry Bird has earned his place in basketball immortality for being one of the most feared and coldest players to ever play the game. With his ability to pick out defenders and dominate them within the post, Larry surely made the phrase, "Don't judge a book by its cover," into a reality. For 13 seasons with the Boston Celtics, Larry Bird personified consistency, hustle, and excellence in all areas of play. As a scorer, a passer, a rebounder, a defender, a team player, and perhaps above all, a clutch performer, Larry Bird personified what it meant to be an unstoppable player in the league. And a lot of that was due to his self-confidence. Bird's self-confidence was so great that he would even waltz up to opponents before tip-off and predict a 40-point explosion before the game even started. Crazy to think that a guy that looked like this would drop 40+ points against some of the best players back in the 80s. Bird was the embodiment of Celtic pride. He was a classy, confident, and hardworking player who thrived on pressure and inspired teammates to excel. Like Bob Cousy, Bill Russell, John Havlicek, and Dave Cowens, the low-key Bird never forced the spotlight upon himself, but rather was a player who brought out the best in the players around him. But what separated Bird from the rest of those legends was his style of play. Although those guys were great in their own way, none of them ever wowed and filled up the garden the same way Bird did. Bird received a lot of love from Celtic fans due to him helping the franchise come back to contention after the Celtics suffered from many subpar seasons with low attendance in the late 1970s. With Bird as the focal point of a well-rounded squad, the Celtics won 3 NBA titles and 10 Atlantic Division crowns. In addition to his 3 championship rings, Bird piled up an awesome collection of personal achievements. He became the only third player and the first non-center to win 3 consecutive NBA Most Valuable Player awards. He was a 12-time All-Star, a 2-time NBA Finals MVP, and a 9-time member of an All-NBA First Team. Larry was an obsessive perfectionist who seeked nothing more than wins. Bird was idolized by Celtic fans and basketball purists of all allegiances. His last-second heroics ranging from seemingly impossible reverse layups to miraculous 35-foot bombs over multiple defenders never ceased to amaze those who followed his career. But before we jump into all that, it's important we go back and see where the legend of Larry Legend first began. Growing up in the tiny town of French Lick, Indiana, Larry was able to make a name for himself at Springs Valley High School. There, he would dazzle and amaze people from all over Indiana. With his shifty movements, impressive passing, and out-of-this-world scoring, Larry became an overnight celebrity in his hometown. After high school, Larry attended the University of Indiana, where in the beginning he did find the transition of high school ball to college ball difficult, but he was able to overcome that and be a crucial player for Indiana. In his senior year, Indiana went all the way to the NCAA championship game with an undefeated record. But all that came to an end when they were beaten by a Michigan State led by a 6'9" guy named Irving Johnson. After his senior season, Larry joined the Boston Celtics, who just the previous season suffered from a 29-53 record. In Bird's first season with the Celtics, he was able to help them win more than 60 games. The Celtics finished the season with a 61-21 record. The Celtics were back, and before you say that this wasn't just because of Bird, just know that Bird played in all 82 games and averaged 21.3 points per game, 10.4 rebounds per game, and 4.5 assists per game. Bird went on to win Rookie of the Year that season, but even after winning Rookie of the Year, he was still outshined by his arch nemesis Magic Johnson, who went on to win the championship that year. In the offseason, the Celtics were able to make a trade with the Warriors to bring in center Robert Parrish and future first-round draft pick, which eventually became Kevin McHale. That following season, the Celtics were able to make the finals after a memorable series in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Philadelphia 76ers, where the Celtics were able to come back from a 3-1 deficient. In the finals, they matched up against the Houston Rockets. The Celtics were able to beat them in 6 games. Bird was able to average 21.2 points per game and 10.9 rebounds per game, earning him his first title with the Celtics. Along with Magic, Bird was revitalizing the NBA, helping the league live up to its new slogan, NBA Action. It's fantastic. After only 2 seasons, fans, coaches, and players knew what exactly Bird was all about. Big numbers and clutch performances. Bird's concentration and composure were unmatched. The hours he had spent working on his shot as a youngster paid big dividends in the NBA. No other player in this era was as good or a consistent shooter as Bird. In 1981-82 season, Bird made the first of his 3 consecutive appearances on the All-NBA defensive second team. Even though he was relatively slow and not the greatest one-on-one defender, his anticipation and court sense made him a good team defender. As many observed, he would see plays not as they were developing but before they developed. In the same season, Bird finished runner-up to Moses Malone for the NBA's Most Valuable Player award. Bird and the Celtics were able to finish with the top seed in the East, but they were knocked out in the conference finals by the Philadelphia 76ers. The Celtics didn't reach the finals again until 1984, where they met up against their all-time rivals, the Los Angeles Lakers. This game was huge because not only were the 2 greatest franchises in basketball matching up, but also the rivalry of Bird and Magic were finally going to match up in the finals. From college to pros, these guys revolutionized the game of basketball, gathering mass attention that saved the NBA from being cancelled. In the finals, Bird was able to get the last laugh, and him and the Celtics were able to take down the Lakers in 7. In the following season, Bird was able to make the finals once again for a 4th consecutive time, after an amazing performance in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Detroit Pistons, where in Game 5, Larry Bird had a memorable steal on Isaiah Thomas to win the game. But that moment was only short-lived, as the Celtics went on to lose against the Lakers in the finals. Bird and the Celtics were able to redeem themselves in the 1985-86 season. They once again for a 5th consecutive time made the NBA Finals and matched up against the Houston Rockets. The Celtics were able to win the series in 6, and Larry Bird earned his 3rd title with the Celtics. Larry went on to average 24 points per game, 9.5 assists per game, and 9.7 rebounds per game. Dude flat out balled and nearly averaged a triple-double in the finals. Unfortunately for Bird, that would be his last title. Now 30 years old with worsening back and foot problems, injuries began to hold him back, to the point where off-season surgeries became a constant norm for Bird. Surgery to remove bone spurs from both heels limited Bird to only 6 games in 1988. The following year, Bird posted the 3rd longest free throw streak in NBA history, hitting 71 consecutive attempts. Bird missed 22 games in the 1990-91 season because of a compressed nerve root in his back, a condition that would eventually force him into retirement. The 91-92 season was Larry Bird's last, and that season he missed 37 games because of his continuing back problems, but in a nationally televised game against Portland in March, Bird pulled off one final miracle performance. He scored 16 points in the 4th quarter, including the Celtics' last 9 points in a game-tying 3-pointer with 2 seconds left. Boston won 152-148 in double overtime. Bird finished with 49 points, 14 rebounds, and 12 assists and 4 steals. His performance was so legendary that Blazer star Clyde Drexler couldn't help but say, "Anytime you have Bird on the floor, anything can happen." After that season, Larry turned up for Team USA in the 1992 Olympics, where he would join forces with Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, and other NBA superstars as they headed to Barcelona to play for the gold. Larry wasn't the best player on the team, but his contribution as a leader and veteran helped his team tremendously. After the Olympics, Larry decided to call it quits and hang up his shoes. After his playing career, Bird was named special assistant in the Celtics front office. His duties were limited, but they did include scouting and evaluating players. He also provided work in commercial and films. He eventually cut ties with the Celtics and went back home to Indiana. On May 12, 1997, Bird was named head coach for the Indiana Pacers. Even though he had never coached a game in his life, the Pacers had no problem turning over the reins to Bird. And to many surprise, Bird was able to do a very good job. He even won Coach of the Year in the 97-98 season, and if that wasn't impressive enough, he even took the Pacers all the way to the finals in the 2000 season. In 2003, he joined the Pacers front office as the team's president of basketball operations and worked side by side with Walsh to rebuild Indiana into a contender. After the 2011-12 season, Bird stepped down as the Pacers president of basketball operations due to health issues. But after just 1 year, Bird returned to his role with the Pacers in 2013. He eventually stepped down again in 2017. Now 65, Larry has officially retired from the game of basketball. With an impressive playing and coaching resume under his belt, there's no doubt in my mind that Larry didn't give it his all. Well guys, that's my video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, feel free to smash the like button down below. And also don't forget to comment down below as well. And well, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.